You know, when we think about mental strength, we usually picture something, well, loud, obvious. But what if real strength, the truest kind, is actually silent? Today, we're going to explore 8 signs, all backed by psychology, that point to a deep, quiet power you probably have and don't even realize.
Maybe you've had this thought before. In those moments of self-doubt, it's just so easy to feel like you don't really have what it takes to get through things.
And yeah, when things get really tough, that little voice in your head might start whispering that you're about to crack, that all this pressure is just way too much for you. But here's the thing. What if those feelings aren't the whole story? What if psychology actually reveals a kind of strength inside you that operates on a completely different level, a much quieter one?
And that brings us to this key idea: silent strength. This isn't about big, flashy displays of toughness. It's an internal force, a quiet confidence that works from the inside out and doesn't need anyone else's applause to prove it's real.
So let's start by looking at how this strength shows up when it's just you, in the quiet of your own inner world. All right, first up, when everything is going crazy, the silently strong person doesn't just add to the noise. Instead, you find that calm spot inside. You pause, you think, and then you choose how to respond. Psychology has a fancy term for this: emotional regulation. It's basically your thinking brain taking over from your knee-jerk fight or flight instincts. And honestly, that's an incredible display of power.
You know, so many people confuse being alone with being lonely, but they are worlds apart. If you actually enjoy your own company, if you don't feel that constant pull for attention or distraction from other people, well, psychology says that's a sign of a really strong connection with yourself. You're not lonely. You're just self-sufficient.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. How does this inner stillness actually translate into action out in the real world, in our daily lives?
This one is a huge sign of emotional intelligence. I mean, think about it. Wasting energy fighting battles you can't win is just exhausting. The strong mind gets this. It redirects all that focus onto the things it can actually influence, its own attitude and its own effort. That shift right there, it's an absolute game changer for cutting down stress.
Wow. This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? We live in a world that is constantly baiting us to react to every little thing. Choosing your peace over your ego, that's a real power move. It's realizing that your emotional energy is a precious resource, and not every argument is worth spending it on.
Oof, setting boundaries. It could feel so uncomfortable, right? But it's absolutely crucial. Mentally strong people get that saying no isn't about being mean or rejecting someone. It's about protecting yourself. You know that old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup? Well, they build a little fence around their own energy and peace to make sure their cup stays full.
Let's be honest, motivation feels amazing, but it's also super unreliable, right? It comes and goes. Silent strength doesn't wait around for the right feeling to get things done. It runs on discipline. It's that voice that says, let's go, whether you're tired, bored, or just not feeling it. That consistency is what really builds success.
All right, for our last section, let's talk about the past. Because the way a strong mind deals with its own history, well, that's where some of the biggest power comes from.
This comparison is so clear, isn't it? Look, pain happens to everyone, but how we respond to it, that defines everything. A strong mind doesn't just put up with pain, it actually digs into it to find the wisdom. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every hardship becomes a stepping stone for growth.
This last one is such a powerful balancing act. Forgiveness. It's not about letting the other person off the hook. It's about letting yourself off the hook, freeing yourself from carrying around all that bitterness. But, and this is key, that freedom doesn't mean you forget. The silently strong person forgives to heal their own heart, but they remember the lesson to protect their future. So as we wrap this up, let's just really let this sink in. True mental strength, it isn't loud. It doesn't need to put on a show or announce that it's arrived. Instead, it's calm. It's that quiet center in the middle of a hurricane, that clarity that shows up when everything else is just chaos.
It is silent. A deep, unshakable confidence that doesn't need anyone on the outside to tell it that it's worthy.
And at the end of the day, it's stable. It's that inner anchor that holds you steady no matter how wild the waves get on the surface.
So if any of these signs resonated with you, that's not an accident. It's a reflection of a power that's already inside you. The question isn't whether or not you have this strength, it's how will you choose to honor it in your life.